Hi and a really warm welcome to this next training. This is lesson number 5, the true self and its multi-dimensional nature. Now, if you think where we've taken this journey so far, originally, we're brought up to think that reality is one world, that we're in a physical place and that time exists and all that kind of thing. And actually what we're really doing here is breaking that all down. So one of the main areas is time. And if we remove time from the equation, then the idea of the soul, the idea of consciousness, or being within one reality, which is what most religions and the most new age ideas will tell you, that really breaks down. And so in this lesson, we're going to look at the true nature of what we call the soul, what the soul is. And you're going to begin to understand the multi-dimensional nature of reality. So the idea of one world, one reality, one body, one soul. We're going to break that down and imagine that there are multitudinous, limitless realities, not all of them physical by any idea whatsoever. In fact, physical reality is just one tiny slice of a very complex reality. I'm going to open up your mind and your ideas to a much more complex and brilliant view of a very creative, very active reality consciousness that you are a part of, where you create realities at will with your thoughts. And so it's a completely different view of reality that we're building up to here. With its multi-dimensional, you exist in multitudinous ways, most of them not physical in any way, shape or form, because of course not every soul, not every consciousness decides to become physical, and that is a revelation for a lot of people. So we're going to have a look at that in this lesson, and then we're going to have a look in the next one at the nature of illness and wellness and how to stay well. But enjoy this lesson. It's a mind opener, but it logically moves on from the other lessons that you've taken so far. So this one is the true self and its multidimensional nature, and I hope that you enjoy it. Hello and a really warm welcome back to this next training. David Marshall here. So let's get on with this one. So this is called Our True Self and Its Multidimensional Nature. All right. So now, owing to the nature of an event, we recap slightly the nature of an event, the understanding of the nature of time, the simultaneous nature of time, then we've actually now presented a really different view of reality and also of your identity. And that's really where we want to get to with this, because obviously it will completely alter how you perceive yourself and reality, how you perceive your life's purpose, lots and lots of things. Now, through our exploration of the various aspects of the self, we've talked about an ego, which is the part of you, if you like, that deals with this three-dimensional reality, okay, that deals with the day-to-day construction, picking up things, time and space, all that kind of stuff. But remember, it's created by you, and there is no time and space here, and it's all connected to you. We've also looked at things called probable selves. Now, these are ego-conscious selves, just like you are, that are created when an event happens in your life that's so diverse that other things cannot be fulfilled with one ego. So it's, that a life-changing event, you get married, you move to another country, you completely change direction. All those types of things, another, self, another you is created, quite literally. We've talked about reincarnational selves. Now they can be classed as other yous, probable selves, but in a different time frame. Okay, so we've expanded it out there, and then also called it the soul or the personality. And this is the aspect of you that exists outside of physical reality, the portion of you that would see all events happening at the same time. And in truth, that's the creative force behind this reality and all of the constructions, all of the ego constructions. That's who you are. Okay, you are actually an inhabitant of reality outside of physical reality. That's where you are. That's where your true nature is. So let's move on and have a look at the traditional version of a soul. So what is the traditional version of the soul? Well, it is immortal, but it goes up and down. It's got various lifetimes. There are religious connotations to the soul. People think of it as perfect. And that when we're in physical reality, we are imperfect. I mean, a lot of religions believe that, all that kind of stuff. So there are very traditional versions of a soul. But in the sense that I want to present it to you, think about it as just a broader personality. Okay, the true self, the greater self, they're all the same things. But you could also say that it's a broader consciousness, that you are. So we want to try and avoid terms that are religious by nature, but that's why just calling it the self is probably the easiest. So the self that you are is multidimensional. It's in many lifetimes. It experiences, an infinite number of probable realities that you are also in, and other lifetimes, and so much more. So that's what the traditional version of the soul used to be like, and we're redefining that. So what do you think the word dimension means? And this is important here. So what do you think the word dimension means when we talk about multi-dimensional self? Okay, multi-dimensional self. What do you think that means? Because a lot of people, will think it's something that it's not, maybe. So if we define a multi-dimensional self, okay, that as any experience that the self creates, whether it's ego-based or not. Okay, so the multidimensional self that we're talking about is not just the self within physical reality, but the self outside of physical reality also. So it's not necessarily a place, it's not necessarily a planet, it could be a feeling. Okay, if you could experience what it's like to be another person or an animal or any form of consciousness, a tree, a plant, an ocean, the sky, the sun, the stars, all those kind of things, they're all dimensions of activity. They're all dimensions of consciousness. And you have, within your broader self, those experiences are happening. Not to you right now, but believe me, you can come out of this one and focus into those. Absolutely amazing. So the soul is very different. Okay, the true self, the broader self, very different. The dimensions that it experiences are also very different, not necessarily physical, not necessarily human, not necessarily anything that we can relate to at all. So how do you feel about then, because this is quite, a revolution for some people, that actually the portions of yourself, that the unlimited nature of the self means that in other dimensions you have no human form. Okay, that you don't actually have any human form at all. How would you feel about that? Because that's really not commonly accepted. The soul, in religious terms, has always been given to humans, in some religions, animals, but sometimes trees in certain pagan kind of religions, that type of thing. But actually, the dimensions of reality mean that actually there are portions of you that have no idea even what it is to be human. How do you feel about that? Because the nature of it, what I'm really trying to get across is that everything is equal. That consciousness, everything is equal, be it animal, be it human, be it tree, be it whatever it is. It's all consciousness, and it's all literally equal, all the same old stuff. And we need to redefine our cultural beliefs and our beliefs about the nature and the limitations of the soul. Now, in any reality or dimension, physical, non-physical, as consciousness, we create a personal reality, okay, out of the broader reality. Whether it's physical or whether it's not, we express ourselves in an infinite number of ways, displaying whatever camouflage we wish to. So here, the camouflage we have is, created by the five senses. But in other forms of consciousness, it might be experienced in a completely different way. We might experience it as sound. But the way that we're interpreted within any reality, so there are other realities where you are interpreted and expressing yourself in a totally different way. Maybe it'll be physically as a forest for 1,000 years, or it may be nothing to do with physical reality at all of which are dimensions that are possible and are happening to you or another portion of you. And remember, there are no boundaries. You can tune into those and have experiences those. So to round this off, if we could go back to our proposition that reality is created in similar ways to a dream state of consciousness, then what is your connection to other forms of consciousness within the dreams? So people, animals, all that kind of stuff. What do you think your connection is to them? Yeah? What do you think it is? Because although other people and animals and plants, they appear separate to us, then we're actually truly intimately connected to them, because we're creating a version of them that you see. So when you look at another person, you're creating a version of them. Quite literally, you're creating your own reality, your own version of them based on your beliefs. If you expect somebody to be awful to you, they will be. If you expect them to be amazing, they will be, because you create your own reality. The same to animals and trees and all consciousness. Now, we're all a bit kind of like peacocks in that we're displaying ourselves, we're expressing ourselves in physical reality in unique ways, to express our unique creativity that is simply not limited to physical reality, even though it is. This is our home station, if you want to think about it. So consciousness is not limited. The soul, or the greater self, is the creative force behind this, and also other realities that we're not aware of. Consciousness expresses itself in just a myriad of forms within this reality, as we can see when I look out the window here, and therefore everything we experience within this and any other reality is created through a cooperation of consciousness. We're constantly cooperating to create this reality. Consciousness cooperates within every single dimension through expressing itself, and although other forms of consciousness coexist within the same space, we only see those that conform to our beliefs or to our five senses. So, if people experience spirits or ghosts or whatever they want to call them, they're just experiencing another portion of the self, maybe themselves or other selves that exists outside of the five senses. And to the portion that exists outside of the five senses, the portion in reality might be the ghost. This ghosty thing doesn't really exist at all in the same way when you think about it. So in this reality, you take the part of a human. In another, you may be a musical note, an electrical charge, aspect of weather. You may be an animal. Who knows what it is? But in other realities that are existing simultaneously, you take many, many forms. Some physical and some so beyond your or my imagination, we just can't even think about them. So that is where we're going to leave it right now. That's where we're going to leave it. So in other realities, you are human and not. In this reality, you are human and not. And maybe sometimes we'll just throw in there that sometimes maybe in this reality, when you meet somebody you've got to feel like you've got a strong connection with, it'll be because you are maybe in directly in communication or connected to them very strongly in another reality, or they may be the part of your self or soul, that exists here. So that you might have another portion of your soul that exists in this time frame. That may, I'm a white guy who's male, right, in the UK. There might be another portion of my soul that wants to experience what it's like to be an Arabian woman in Saudi Arabia to get that experience. And, we are intimately connected. That's where the idea of soulmates and that type of thing comes through. Doesn't mean you've got to marry them or hate them or whatever it is. Just, the personality, and energetically, you might feel that connection with them. So that's it for today. Our true self, or for this lesson anyway, our true self is my multi-dimensional nature. Mind-blowing stuff. Speak to you soon. Take care.